Ah, how's it going, everybody? I wanted to do another video to talk about something that used to confuse me for a long time, and that used to be. Before I get started, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I call my channel Mark's Music Place. If you like the content, please subscribe, share the video, write some comments, and please hit the thumbs up and all that. It does help the channel. I really do appreciate everyone that tunes in. I really do. With that being said, now it's kind of warm, so I'm gonna take this off. The heat's on, because I hope everyone's trying to stay warm, because this, man, we've been getting some snow everywhere across the states, power outages, stuff like that. So with that being said, what I want to talk about was one of the most confusing things to me for a long time. And that was the copyrights and the rights and how people were getting paid. I used to be confused about that for a long time. Because there are people, believe it or not, I was watching a lot of videos on Unsung, and I was amazed how people were in bands and groups and didn't even understand. They didn't know that a lot of them weren't getting paid, or weren't getting paid what they were supposed to get paid, because no one teaches you this stuff. And it never dawned on me how so many people that are, that can have some success because, or you think they have some success, but this is a very, very complicated, complex system. Yet it's very simple once you understand it. It's not hard at all. There's a lot of lingo and terminology that makes it confusing, and a person can be in the business and not understand that side and realize that they're only getting, it's like a pie. They're only getting a piece of the pie. They're not getting the whole pie. And sometimes it's like, I kind of look at like sweet potato pie. Once you get a slice of it and it's good, you're like, well, man, I want some more. Like, oh, there ain't no more. You got your piece. Well, I mean, there's, it's got to be more pie than this. Nah, that's it. You got your one little slice. So, all right. So here we go. Let me try to do my best to. So for those that don't know, if you do know this video, if you know all this video is probably not. You probably don't need to watch this video. But if you were like me, who was like, okay, you try to understand point systems, publisher companies, songwriters, recording artists, labels, how they, and all the whole, and how people get paid, and marketing and all that. You're wondering all that. Okay, let me kind of generalize from my experience, knowledge, and research. Okay. For a long time, I used to think a song was this. You have a person. This person creates a song in their head. They have a melody or whatever. They have some lyrics. And they write it down on a piece of paper, whatever the case may be. What I never thought or knew about that was the minute a person does that, by their writing on a piece of paper, whatever, it becomes automatically copywritten. But also, for the longest time, I used to think that I used to think for a long time that the artists that we hear on the radios and TV and so forth, or videos or whatever, those were the people that were coming up with the ideas to sing these songs. Never realized for a long time that majority of most people that was with a record label that was singing these songs, never knew for a long time that they were singing someone else's ideas. Never knew it. As famous as they can be, whether it was Phyllis Hyman, Anita Baker, Luther Vandross, Michael Jackson, and so forth. There are very few artists that would write their own songs and perform their own songs. But majority of them, like Stevie Wonder would, like, just like what I used to think, I used to think whenever I used to hear Stevie Wonder, especially in his early days, baby, everything is gonna be uptight, out of sight, or that song, for once in my life, I'm the one who needs me. I never seen before. For once in my life, and those songs, Stevie Wonder. Never knew Stevie Wonder didn't write in those. He was just singing for somebody else that wrote the song. And that was the majority of most recording artists. So now, it's kind of like that song by Chaka Khan, Through the Fire. I looked in your eyes and I could see love so dangerously. You're not trusting your heart to anyone. Never realized David Foster wrote that song. Just like David Foster wrote, for a while, love it. I don't know the words. Nothing I knew in your eyes, something right. So, that's a big deal. Okay, so how it breaks down is this. Publisher companies are trying to publish songs. They publish these songs through blind. The publisher companies publish these songs through buying formats called licenses. And they have several types of licenses that they can license these songs out. So it's basically another way of license, like rental. It's another way to think of it. They rent these songs out. It's kind of like some licenses agreements are one-time purchases. Some are annual. Some are, depends on the stipulations of the publishing company. So what publishing companies you would normally do is they would find, and the music publishing companies are in the business of selling songs. Okay. Keyword, song. A song is a song composition idea. Someone's expressive melodic thoughts. That's what that's what songs are. Okay. I'm like, that's so confusing. Like, okay, you think, no, a song to me is, music, right? The melodic expression of the music is the song. This is what I used to be confused about this. You got to stay with me on the business. Think of it in the music business. Think of the music business in the industry side of this. I like, you mean the song is not the music I'm hearing? Not necessarily, no. And I'll explain why. This is why it was so confusing. And now it took me a long time to realize how these companies were making money off of this. So songwriters create song melodic expressive ideas. They need someone to interpret these songs through music. Now, this is why some songwriters can be a songwriter and don't play an instrument, while some other ones can be a songwriter and do play an instrument. If they're a songwriter and do play an instrument, it's a plus. This is why some songwriters can not only be able to play the instrument to play and create the song idea they had, the songwriter that they had come up with the song idea that they have and put it, in a format that makes, okay, here's a song I got, right? Okay. This makes this person a songwriter. Now, with that being said, that allows the songwriter to write the song. The song becomes copywritten. Once they put it on some sort of format, they can record it, use their voice, record it, tape machine, piece of paper, write it down on a napkin, doesn't matter. Now, there's a PA form that they would fill out through songwriting that allows them to attach it to that so they can file it on with the Library of Congress. So now that makes a record of it. That's all that does. It makes a record of it, and it allows it to be licensed also by granting these different places a license to use that song idea composition. Okay. And this is what songwriters do all day long. Some songwriters will write a song using their guitar, their piano, whatever, to create these song expressive ideas. Now, the publishing company is designed to allow that song to be published and licensed to be used to different formats, and they do it through licensing, such as performing licenses. They'll allow it to do it through grand right licensing, which means it can be used in live theater, like on Broadway. They'll do it through print licensing, which allows those song compositions to be put on paper. They'll do this through performance, print, grant. They'll also do it through sync licenses, allow these song compositions to be synced to a movie or TV or commercial. Okay, and so they have these different licenses. That's what the publishing company does. And not only do they allow for people to come to them to get licensed, but they also are to seek out places that might need material, these song compositions. Now, what makes it beneficial for a publishing company is when you can have a whole bunch of songwriters creating these song composition ideas for a publishing company. But what's going to help the song move is sound to actually physically record the song idea. This is where record labels come into play. So we always think the recording portion was the studio portion, right? Think of the sound recording now. So record labels' jobs is they want to own a mechanical right. So what happens is that song composition idea from the publishing company with the songwriters, they'll say, okay, I got this song composition, whatever. Here is the basic song, how it goes. The songwriter, maybe they did a recording on cassette, vinyl, tape, MP3 or whatever. Here's the song idea. They say, yeah, I like that. We can use that. Well, what do you charge for the mechanical right to use that? This is what we'll charge you. Okay. Okay, good. Now, the song, the record label's job, unlike the publishing company, the record label's job is to sell sound recordings. Sound recordings are interpretations of the songwriter's ideas. That's what a sound recording is. So the sound, that's okay, got this song from this songwriter. Go turn it into an actual sound recording. And so what record labels will do is they hire artists and repertoire representatives, artists and repertoire A&Rs. Go find some people that you think can interpret these songs. It's not as simple like that, but this is kind of the generalization of it. So they say the artist, and okay, so the artist is out, they're scouts, right? And they may be in these clubs, at talent shows or whatever, listen to the internet. They hear some male or some female or some group, some band or whatever catches their attention. Ooh, man, she can sing. Oh man, or he can sing. Or man, they sound good or whatever. All right. They approach him. Hey, yeah. You know, I heard how great you sound, man. This is man, I mean, I can get you signed. I would like to give you. Here's my business card, right? Call me. This is my business card. Whatever. Let's set up a meeting, whatever. Now, artists say, okay. They go set up a meeting, whatever. Or the artist may have a manager. Okay, I need you to talk to my manager. Because the manager's going to talk to make sure that these people that approaching this artist they're supposed to make sure they're on the up and up and things seem legit and all that. That's what one of the artist manager's jobs is, right? So they set up this meeting. The A&R says, okay, let's say the artists had their own demos. They were doing, damn, nose itch. Let's say the artists did their own demos. They present the demo. Listen to this. Listen to this artist. How good they sound. Okay, all right. And the record label like, man, they had a potential to go and do some sound recordings for us that we can make some money. This is what the record label is thinking. AR, yeah. The AR is just a person convincing the record label, yeah, they sound good. Okay, let's see if we can sign up a deal. Let's go get to a deal. So the record label go get to their legal department, and they usually do the same generic base, low-balling record deal, because they're very interested in trying to make as much money as they can. Okay, so, but they're gonna present it in a way to make it seem like the artist is gonna, we're gonna make you a star, right? Okay, now. The recording artists, which may have done their own demos or whatever, may say, yeah, man, okay. I got approached by Epic Records, or I got approached by Solar Records, or I got approached by Atlantic Records, or Interscope Records, or whatever, Capitol Records, Columbia Records. It just list goes on and on and on. These people approached me, right? And they want, these contracts. They want to sign me a deal. Okay. Of course, the deal is confusing. It's like all these literary terms that make it seem confusing. When basically they're saying, look, we want a percentage of this, and we want this cut, and this cut, and this cut, and this cut, depending if you can make us money, and so forth. That's basically the bottom line what the contract's saying, in a nutshell. And if can't make us money, we're going to continue to own the master. Whatever you record, we own it. You're going to work for us. You're going to create product for us. It's the same concept of a person that works for a major conglomerate like Nike, and you have these shoe designers that design these shoes for Nike. Well, Nike still owns that shoe design, even though it's not Nike themselves isn't creating the shoe design. They have people creating the shoe design for them. But if the shoe design is so successful, Nike owns the trademark to it to sell the shoes. They can have the shoes manufactured, distributed, people buy them. But the original shoe designer gets just a cut of what the big corporation make, maybe 5%. So if we sell 1,000 of these, you get 5% of the 1,000. The shoes at $100 a pop. You know, you're talking 1,000 of these shoes, $100 a pop, $100,000. We'll give you 5% of that. So $100,000. You talk about 5% of $100,000 is how much? They make $100,000. You make $5,000. You get what I'm saying, right? So that's how they usually do that. Okay, well, record business is the same way. So now the A&R gets this artist that they met signed. The artist says, okay, hey, we got these songs, we need recorded, you know, whatever. So either the artist, based on the contract, will provide the producers because they think these producers can produce, you know, or maybe the artist has to find producers. Either way, the artist still gonna have to pay the producer. Whether the record label came with the producer, or the artist came with the producer. That's one of those. That's why it's one of those crooked deals. Like, well, why should I pay the label so much if I have to do all the work, right? Anyhow, moving on. So they get these producers. You know, you find one of those hit-making producers like Quincy Jones as an example. Okay. Recruit producers that have track records of turning song composition ideas they got from a song from a publisher company, songwriting. Man, that's a good song, but I know how to turn it. I know exactly what it needs. I'm gonna call up this bass player. I'm gonna get this guitar player. I'm gonna get this keyboard player. And I know exactly what musicians can really bring that song out, right? Then they bring in this artist, male or female, this group or whatever. They have the talent to really sing this song. The producer puts all that together, right? So, but the producer's also saying, okay, I know exactly what studio I'm going to go to. Because I know that engineer, I know they got the gear, the equipment, and they have everything I need to take these musicians and this artist in and record these artists exactly how I want them. So that's how they seek these recording studios based on their reputation of producing, of being able to record artists and produce these results, right? So that's what happens with between the, you know, so a lot of times people think it's the record labels seeking these recording studios, but sometimes the record, you know, whenever these recording studios work with the producers work with these record labels, and they work with these certain recording studios, they develop it's like, you know, like your barber, your hairdresser. You're only going to go to a certain barber or a certain hairdresser because you know that they're going to be able to cut your hair. Even though there's thousands of barbers around your town, you know which barber you want to go to because you know how they cut your hair. It's the same thing with recording studios. I'm going to go to this recording studio because I got great results and you know, whatever the case. Same thing with the recording studios, right? So that's how that trickery in. And the recording studio, out of all of it, the record label say, well, I know I get this producer. I know he's going to turn these song ideas into hits. And the recording studio say, well, I know I'm going to work with this producer because I know they're going to bring me business. You see how everyone starts to interconnect with each other? Okay. So now the record labels, since the publishing companies are in the business of selling song ideas, Record labels are in the business of creating sound recordings, turning those song ideas into actual sound recordings. Now, a lot of times, sometimes the record labels get it wrong. Most of the time, sometimes the songwriter it just wasn't a good song. But a lot of times the producer misinterprets it. The record labels, whatever the case may be. Or sometimes the producers got the wrong musicians that didn't, the bass player just really wasn't playing it to that potential, the exact bass line, or the keyboard player wasn't playing it, the keys a certain way, or the artist just wasn't singing it a certain way. So, and then a lot of times it can be something simple. It can be all the way down to a point where a certain melody line in the intro of the song can make or break a song, or whatever. Certain drum rhythms can make or break the song. Certain song phrasing, the way the song artist phrase it, can make or break a song. All this. And sometimes producers and record labels, judgment get clouded because the artist is what type of artist it is, whatever. There's a lot of factors. But anyhow, moving on. So the mechanical portion is what the record labels is, because they're in the business of selling sound recordings. That's why an SR form for the copyright form have to be filled out for the sound recording. Then you have the PA form for the song idea. You have an SR form for the actual sound recording. The PA form is for the songwriter. The SR form is for the record label, the sound recording. Okay. And the sound recording allows them to once the song was recorded from the studio, once it's done, and it's a master's made, whether it's, whatever the case may be, then it's going to go to back to the label. The label's going to own it, because that's what it says in the contract. Whatever the artist creates in the studio belongs to the record label. That's what the contract says. Okay. So they send it, and it's finally the master's done. Now they're ready to say, okay, we're ready to distribute this. So now we're going to have it manufactured, but we're going to make the artist pay for it. It's such a dirty business. So the artist's going to say, okay, we're going to make the artist pay for it. Okay. Now they manufacture, we're going to start off with 100,000 copies. And we're going to distribute to the main stores. Now I'm talking about CDs when CDs, I should use that as an example, when CDs was big, right? As an example. Now we're going to put in all your whatever case. We're going to start with these stores. They sell out. The bar scan send, 1,000 went to 1,000 went to this Walmart in Birmingham, Alabama. 1,000 went to the Walmart in Columbus, Georgia. 1,000 went to this store in Baltimore, Maryland. 1,000 went to this store up in uptown New York City. 1,000 copy went to Chicago. 1,000 and so forth. And all these Walmarts, they sold out. Because every time they ring it, the bar scan say, okay, it tracks how many is being sold. Man, this thing is selling. Man, it's selling out. Okay, we got to manufacture another 100,000. Keep selling out, man. These things are selling. So the disc makers are busy trying to, because they're going to produce the most, which artists, which clients are giving them the biggest purchase orders. Oh man, Beyonce's, okay, we got to produce another 1,000 copies, because they can only make so many copies a day. So they're making it. This including embroidering on the actual CD, creating the CD sleeve, the casing, the whole 9-bit, putting the bar scan and all that. Because the record label is gonna make sure the artist have to do a photo shoot, bio, all the write-ups on every track. What producers, what musicians, what engineers, what studios did they go to? All that information goes on the CD and all that. So The A&R's job is to put together a list of all the songs that recording artists had recorded based on their budget. The A&R's job is to say, okay, give me your 12 best songs out of how many you made. Some recording artists can make 100 songs. We're going to pick these 12 out of these 100 songs we did. These are the 12 that we did. You list to, okay, or they'll list to all 100. Okay, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. No, I don't want that one. I want that one. I will say that one for the next album. I want that one, that one, that one. They'll come up with this list of to go on the album. And that's what the A&R person does. That's why it's called a repertoire. The artist and their repertoire of songs. Get it? A&R? That's where that comes from. It's a repertoire of songs they're going to put on a CD to sell for the record label. Now, the record label said, okay, this is the reason why A&R people get fired. Because if the album flops, especially if it's the artist's first debut CD, and it flops, and you know they manufacture 10,000, only 100 sell. This is what A&R. Man, you don't know what you're doing. You're fired. Because maybe in their mind, maybe the artist could have used 12 or 13 other different songs, and it probably would have made a difference if it sold or not. The reason why it's such a risky business, because most of the time people don't know what's going to sell. You know, you come up with 50 hot songs and not a single one does. Prime example, Rock Me Tonight by Freddie Jackson was one of the last songs to go on his album, Rock Me Tonight, because they were like, well, we need one more album filler. That turned out to be the #1 hit for him. Yeah, girl, come on and rock me all night long. So you just don't know, because they were thinking, love is just a touch away, songs like that, right? They thought they was gonna kill, and they were great songs, but that Rock Me Tonight, that's what put Freddie Jackson on the map in the 80s. It's the same thing with Sweet Love wasn't the first song that they came up with. You know, they were thinking more like Mystery and No One in the World. Sweet Love, they just happened to put it with the #1 first on the album, but they didn't think that was going to be their #1 slammer. They thought, Cop and the Rapture of Love, stick the album, Nita Baker, Rapture and all that. They thought Rapture, caught up in the rapture of love, nothing else can. And it was a great song, but Sweet Love, because let me tell you, and I'm going to do a video on the reason why there's certain things that has to be played to capture the audience. And Sweet Love is one of those things where he it's kind of like those dynamics. It grabs the audience. Dynamics always grab the audience. There's a reason why dance songs always grab the audience, like the wobble wobble. You doing that. Bag on up, the bag on up, those wobbles, those type of dance songs are why people gravitate to songs like that. It's kind of like uptown, down, funk it up, uptown. You got to be really. So that's a different video when we're talking about dynamics for songs. Are usually one of those guaranteed, if you do it right, are very guaranteed to capture the audience. So moving on. So now we're going back to the record labels and the A&Rs. That's why A&Rs can get fired, because they don't want to put together the list of songs that went on the album. The art cover, they say, okay, well, this is the art we're going to use, and everything. This is the pictures we're going to use, and excuse me. So, and if it didn't work, you're fired, gone. You don't know what you're doing, and the A&R's gone, and the art is either dropped or shelved. This is such a, anyhow. Moving on. moving on. So and I'm not gonna brag on I'm not gonna use myself as an example. Even though we did have a little bit of success with selling of ADT stuff, even though I did that stuff back in the 90s, and I proved in the other videos, yeah, people are still selling it. I've still got people still commenting on YouTube channels like, man, this is the reason why I bought the album, because of this song or whatever. Because when I was creating the music for a different taste, I was trying to come up with the best music I knew that would capture audience the minute they listen to the track. That, you know, so anyhow, going back to the record label. So the record label takes chances with producers and artists and A&Rs. Can we make money? And if they're not making, it depends on how much they invest in advancements to the artist, tour support, and everything else. If this is the reason why some artists can get dropped faster than other ones, because sometimes the smaller record labels don't have the money, they can't afford the risk. Bigger labels can afford the risk. They'll say, okay, we'll give you one more shot, with a second album. That's why these recording contracts like 1 up to 7 album deal. In other words, if each album sells us and makes us money, we'll keep advancing you and keeping you and so forth. But that's a different video on the scam of record labels. So that's the whole equation of the songwriter, record label, recording artist. So sometimes a recording artist, in their mind, I can create songs, but they might not be allowed to be created songs based on their contract. They want certain producers to get these songs from these songwriters, and our recording artists just contracted just to sing with the producer and the ideas of the songwriter. And they say, well, you're going to make your money just performing these songs in concert for people. That's how you make your money. And we'll also give you, we'll give you a point system. We'll give you 3 points, 8.1 cents, or whatever the point is per. So if you're 3 points on a sale of a CD, that's 24 cents. Whatever. You do 24 cents times the CD's $10. They sell 5 million copies, or whatever, or 500,000 copies, or whatever. You do the math. So, whatever the amount they sell. What else? So I remember I was watching a video where TLC and Left Eye was like, they was like, well, if we get so many points on the album, after all the album makes this amount of money, we all get $300,000 a piece after, all that. She's like, well, that's enough to buy a nice house, but what am I going to pay my bills with? Well, they're like, well, you need to go on tour. And you need to sell tickets and perform. That's how you're going to pay your bills. But the problem is, they got to still pay back the touring support. That's why it's so, So they, and it's expensive to tour. That's probably the most expensive part for a recording artist is the touring. Because the cost of travel, and the cost to bring equipment, and the cost to book venues, and the cost for the band, and the lights, and the dancers, and the security, and hotels, and the food, and all that calculate every place you travel. That's why the artists sometimes, unless you're selling out mega arenas like Michael Jackson was, Michael Jackson sell out a 30,000 concert mega arena. 30,000 people at one show. If more people trying to get in, when you, when you, and I'm gonna tell you one of the biggest things that most of the time as a performing artist versus a recording artist, and a recording artist and a performing artist, it's the same thing, but a performing artist, they have the ability to wow the crowd, and most of the time, the best way to wow the crowd is to also be able to know how to dance. more than just know how to sing. This is the reason why if you look at some of the most dynamic recording, or most of the most dynamic artists are the ones that can dance. You know, just, you know, you take the ones, if you look at it, the ones that doing all these dance, you know, they doing all this stuff like that, and you know, they doing all this as dancers. They doing all this movement and all that, you know, you know, they doing stuff like that. You know, a dancer, and they can, you know, they can dance, and they can, you know, they can pop their body and stuff like that when they singing. You know, this is the reason why dancing was huge for like groups like the Temptations, the Whispers, all these male groups or female groups that would dance. The back, you know, you have a lead, and then the back guy, other people, members of the band, were dancing. And then it's always dancing. Michael Jackson, James Brown. People are always wowed by an artist that dances when they perform. If you dance and you have a dance team and choreograph, this is the reason why we look at Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation, or look at Michael Jackson when he was doing his choreographed stuff, like Smooth Criminal. You know, they do that lean, you know, all that dancing. It's like, look at Usher, you know, Chris Brown, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Janet Jackson. You're going to wow an audience more when you're dancing than you are just standing there performing. So, audience love that, to be able to dance and sing. Especially when you got, look at commercials when they have people dancing, they stamp, and they, you know, they doing all that kind of stuff. And there's 3 or 4 people doing it, or more. This is why Thriller, everyone was doing the Thriller, you know. Thriller, Thriller night, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to end the video. I'm going to end this segment, but I just want to talk a little bit about the record labels and the publishing companies. So the sound recordings, because the sound recordings can be attached to media like CDs and stuff like that, that can make the record labels money. That's why they want to own them. Because if they don't own them, even though the songwriters are going to get the publishing for the, you know, they're going to get the performance rights for the stuff being played on the radio, the PROs are going to pay the songwriters and the publishers, but the mechanicals can be paid to the artists. Now, unless the record label say, nah, we own the rights, the mechanical rights. So they take it. This is why they want to own the mechanical rights, because even if it's being streamed on Spotify or Pandora, those are mechanicals that go to whoever owns the mechanical rights. And that's why the record labels want to own that too. So I just want to throw that out there. This is why Anita Baker said, don't buy my music no more, because I don't own the mechanical rights. I don't own my masters. Even those, a lot of Anita Baker's songs are still being sold. Even her original first album, Sweet Love, from 1986, is still being sold. I think she finally got her masters back, so now those sales can go to her. But some of them have perpetuity, which means forever, in their contracts. Means you'll never be able to buy your masters back. It's just, so I'm gonna wrap up the video because it's 45 minutes. I think I'm gonna do a live stream on this. Maybe, I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. Y'all, we'll see you in the next one. I just want you to get a little bit of understanding of copyrights and record labels. on the right, the copyrights, who's making money for, yeah. So thanks for watching, and y'all have a great one.